First, I must thank Mr. Kumar Nadesan for all the nice things he said about me. No doubt influenced by the fact that I have given a moratorium for the newspaper industry. I must say you all have set up a record looking at last year and this year that two people from the same school and the same class has been the chief guest at these meetings. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you all on the 75th anniversary of India's independence. As I said earlier, the late Jawaharlal Nehru, Panditji's speech that day, Traced with Destiny, referred not only to India, but I think to all of Asia. Even before India became independent, in 1946, you called the first Asian Relations Conference. That paved the way for the Asian nations to get together and subsequently for the Asians and Africans to get together. Actually, India, in that sense, was ahead of the others. China came in only in 1949 and Japan in 1952. The three greats that constitute the main powers of Asia. We have also to remember the achievements of India. India was born out of a partition of states put together on a question of how long India would last. So India has lasted 75 years and therefore will last very much longer. There is no doubt of that. In this you must remember two individuals. One is the Deputy Prime Minister Vallabhbhai Patel, who did the work of bringing some of the states together, especially the more difficult one. And most of all, Panditji, who established India, the concept of India and the Indian identity. So that itself is a tribute and the achievement of India. India and Sri Lanka have many things in common. That is symbolized by your flag carrying the Asoka Chakra. Because under Emperor Asoka, the great emperor, Buddhism came to Sri Lanka. The Mauryan rule came to Sri Lanka. Even after the Mauryan system collapsed with the succeeding Guptas, the Mauryan system of rule came, and our government stayed in Sri Lanka well into the latter part of our dry zone kingdom, the Rajarata kingdom. So for our institutes of government, the planning of our cities come from this system. We also had Buddhism, which was done by Emperor Asoka. And then the Indian flag today symbolizes the origin of how Sri Lankan society was built. The two languages we have, Sinhala and Tamil, originated from Sanskrit and Pali. To be exact, Magadhi, which was preached by the Buddha as he went down the Ganges plains. This is just the beginning. So many other systems of customs have come along here from India, from North India, and more so in the last 1,000 or more years from South India. You could see a commonality in the customs that have come from Tamil Nadu and the customs that have come from Kerala. Many of you Sinhalese here are great believers in Rahu Kale. That is what you have got from Kerala. No one gave it to you here. We worship the goddess Pattini, another import from Kerala. So we have here a large number of people, not merely the Buddhists, not merely the Hindus, but even a sizable section of the Muslims who converted to Muslim on a Quran which was translated to Tamil from South India. So that shows the influence that India as a continent has had on Sri Lanka. So we have now got independence 6 months after each other, and we ventured out on a journey. So there are so many common cultural heritages that we have. Religion, culture, as you saw the dancers here, that's one part. If you look at red and white that the Canadians wear, that again is from Kerala, the color schemes that come there. So this is the commonality. We have our differences, but we built on this. And democracy is one thing that's common to us in the modern age. We built up. And we must thank the British Empire for giving us cricket, which again has brought all of us together. And to India with Bollywood. These are the new binding, these are the new factors which bind us together. So that's why I always say, this is not merely one of a bilateral relationship. It goes beyond that. Take your national anthem, written by Rabindranath Tagore. Take our national anthem, written by a student of Rabindranath Tagore. Tagore was about the greatest Indian or Southeast Asian, which we could mention in the first half of the 20th century. He belonged to all of us. I remember my mother describing the occasion that Rabindranath Tagore came to Sri Lanka. He stayed with my great-grandmother, and my mother, amongst others, had the opportunity of speaking with Rabindranath Tagore. And that's the description that's worth thinking of. So we've been influenced by many of those who came from India, and we have now become one part of the continent joined together. The irony is that some of those in South India sort of find Colombo more common to them than many parts of North India. So how do we carry on? Whatever we are doing culturally, I don't think governments can promote. It will happen automatically. But what is significant is that the Prime Minister of India comes and worships in the Temple of the Tooth, and the President of Sri Lanka goes to Tirupati. I don't think you can see such type of a change happening in any other part of the world or any other country. Some of us also go to Guruvayur. So in this, I think leave the culture to the people. Leave the arts to the people. They'll decide what they want and what they don't want. But I must thank the Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the gift of 2 billion rupees that has been given to us to promote Buddhist relations as between India and Sri Lanka. We will come across with some new ideas and new projects which will make people aware of the connections between our two countries. Then where is the area which we can expand? That is in the area of trade and commerce. Actually, many religions have more than one paradise. The Indian and Sri Lankan economies have two paradises. One is barriers to investment. Other is non-tariff barriers to trade. Now both our countries have to gradually wean ourselves out of it. And especially Sri Lanka, Indo-economic relations. So we are working, because in this age, when you see integration taking place in Southeast Asia and East Asia, when they are getting together, what do we do in South Asia? at least our view is in necessary for India and the neighbors to have to integrate, it has trade integration, Nepal or Sri Lanka of Bangladesh. We look forward to that. We look forward to trade integration in many areas with the RCEP, with the EU. But the cornerstone of this is to achieve trade integration with India. And how do we go ahead? I think that is where we have to give, that's where our emphasis should be. What do we want to be in 2048, 2047? Prosperous societies without poverty, where our per capita income is sufficient to be upper middle income economy or a prosperous developed economy. Then that depends on trade and in exploiting our positions. I think for me the future relations of India with its neighbors will be determined by trade integration. Trade integration gives an economic base. And economic base is common economic base is a prerequisite for better national security and better political relations. So keeping this in mind, we are taking two major steps. First one is we'll upgrade the free trade agreement into a comprehensive economic and technological partnership. We started that in 2018-19. Then I found recently that it has been stuck somewhere in the Department of Commerce with a large number of committees. I didn't know why it was necessary. At that time, I asked the then Minister, Mr. Malik Samaravikrama, to negotiate it, and we didn't have very many these things. So I abolished all the committees. And I said, I want to see this done quickly at the highest political level. But I also think if Sri Lanka wants to develop its international trade, we have to think differently. So I have decided to establish an international trade office which will deal with all the international trade negotiations. As I spoke with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, first under the Ministry of Finance to set it up, and when it's restructured, we will go in the future to Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. So this is the first step. That will pave the way. It also means that we have to remove the red tape. We are looking at restructuring our institutions, looking at separate ministry which will deal with ease of doing business, competitiveness, at the same time to look forward to the different trade agreements that we will come to. So there is a scope for the Sri Lanka and India to get together and look at the different areas. For instance, logistics, renewable energy, tourism, trade, IT. There are many areas which we can work together. And we should work together for the benefit of our two countries. Secondly, we are looking at all the projects which India and Sri Lanka had agreed to, but unfortunately it had got delayed at the Sri Lankan end. So I've asked my Chief of Staff who's here to work on it, and I saw him today surrounded by different officials explaining why they couldn't do it. So I presume after some time we'll come to the stage, they will tell us, yeah, we will do it. But amongst this comes that we have our agreement on the Indian rupee being used here, which finally will enable Indian tourists to come in here and help tourism. But of the projects, I will only talk of two areas. One is the long-term energy solution, the power grid connection between India and Sri Lanka, offshore wind energy, solar power plant at Sampur, and the renewable energy projects on 3 islands of Jaffna. We have a tremendous scope, a potential renewable energy, and India has stepped in first. There will be others, but from Putlam to Mullaitivu, if you exploit the renewable energy and go in for green hydrogen and also providing power to India, you will see the upliftment of the northern economy, which has not happened earlier. the big impact on the northern economy and the implementation. Then we come to releasing or promoting Indian higher educational institutes to come into Sri Lanka. Especially Jaffna is one area we have identified. Again, another development. And we have the Trincomalee development, the Trincomalee tank farm development, the development of the upper tank farm, the development of the Trincomalee port, and the investment zones, which we are working out. Fortunately, Subhana Jurong has given us a plan for the layout of the Trincomalee areas. So this gives big potential. The potential is such that you will find, as far as north is concerned, on its western side will be renewable energy and its eastern side a port. So that will contribute to the development of the north. But that is not only the areas we are looking at. Why are we developing logistics? Because of the fact that we are one of the main ports for India and Bangladesh. So together with India, Adani has already taken over part of the west terminal of the south port. We will be further developing the logistics in Sri Lanka. Similarly, in many other fields, even of the areas of privatization, and now I am glad that the Indian Oil has decided, Lanka in LIOC has decided to take more petrol sheds from the CPC. Those are good signs for most of you who are looking for a better supply of petroleum. But these will all lay the foundation for for close economic cooperation between India and Sri Lanka. There have been new investments here. I am proud that Sri Lankans have gone out to India. Damro is one such example. We should allow Sri Lankans to go to India just as much as we call for Indians to come here. But let us treat this as one big market with potential, because we have to now think of the future. Of the past, yes, we can be satisfied. Of the future, yes, we have to plan it now. Let's do this now and don't look back, look forward, go ahead. We know what our goals have to be for the next 25 years.